Skaven warpstone! All the warpstone!
The lands and battlefields of the old world have been graced by many glorious, devastating, and even grotesque war machines. Contraptions of such exquisite design that they make war an ever-evolving art. The Empire's steam tank uses its thick armor plating to plow through the battlefield, firing swift death at any who threatens the safety of mankind. The Reaper bolt thrower rains death, having been known to even take down hydras and giants with well-placed strikes. Or even the terrifying Dreadquake mortar, a gigantic siege engine crafted by the Chaos Dwarves, whose shells, when fired, can rend the earth itself and feel like a tremor to all in the area. Yet seldom do the grand and ingenious war machines of the surface dwellers parallel those strange machines crafted by the paws of the twisted warlock engineers of Clan Skryer. Clan Skryer is one of the 4 greater clans of the Under Empire, alongside Clan Moulder, Clan Pestilence, and Clan Eshin, and their Lord Warlock Morskatar sits on the 12th seat at the table of the Council of 13 before the Horned Rat's proxy. Through their service to the Council, by supplying twisted machinery, Clan Skryer cements its position of power. They are not necessarily the only clan to produce machines that darken the battlefields and tunnels of the underworld. Clan Pestilence, for example, build their great plague furnaces to spread disease and horror onto the enemy. But Clan Skryer has the upper hand in skill and production speed above any others. Their influence is matched only by their wealth, as they are fond of lending their deadly weapons for exorbitant prices. Through indescribable combinations of arcane sorcery, twisted with mad science and engineering, Clan Skryer are able to produce the most horrible and destructive weapons and machinery available to the Skaven race, and arguably the entire world. As such, they remain as the greatest to forge the most potent of weapons, and never allow the other clans to forget about this fact. The machines of war that are produced by the clan are churned out of the warpstone-fueled warp forges beneath Skavenblight with startling speed. These dark places stink with smoke and death. Numerous pieces of broken machinery, wasted oil, and rusted scrap litter the ground. Warpstone deposits light the obscure passages and chambers that make the underground. Through the tunnels and unseen halls, one can hear the roaring of the uncountable infernal machines that work unceasingly until they inevitably break apart.
Make all these stinking reptiles die! Die! Murder, death, kill devices, at the ready!
While Clan Skryer are most known for their war machines, such as the Warp Fire Thrower, the Rattling Gun, and the Warp Grinder, they are responsible for many of the greatest advances of their vile race, creating gigantic earth movers and rock drills that are used in the Skaven mines. The Warp Raider, and even the Far Squeaker, which allows rats to communicate almost instantly across vast distances. It is known that when new machines and inventions are put to use, they are just as likely to succeed as they are to fail. Often this being realized too late by the Skaven crew responsible of managing the machines. Thousands upon thousands of Skaven have perished suddenly, being consumed by violent explosions or trapped under the bulk of a malfunctioning machine of war. However, the Skaven, being as numerous as they are, can try to make things work again and again, affording to lose all the necessary Skaven slaves in the process. For the Ratmen, there's always more bodies ready to be put to good use. The Warlock engineers play a vital part in the production of the many inventions that come out of the furnaces and testing grounds. Their specialty is the abhorrent blending of dark magic and arcane technology. And while the vast array of weapons and devices they develop are often just as deadly to the Skaven wielding them as they are to any opponent, the Skryer engineers generally seem to care extremely little about precise craftsmanship. Skrye's most powerful engineers meld sorcery and science until the two are indivisible. These individuals are called Warlock engineers, and they are more akin to walking arsenals than to Skaven. Warp energy crackles from the blades that emerge from the flesh of their arms, and their rat-like bodies are covered in all manner of bizarre artifice. Tubes and wires pulse and buzz with unholy life as they connect the engineer to his harness and its fantastic apparatus. Fearful and horrible indeed is Skrye's technology, if it allows such an unholy alliance of flesh and machine. The backbone of Clan Skryer is without any shadow of a doubt the Warlock engineers, ingenious ratmen who are both inventors and magicians in equal measure, many even being full-fledged wizards. They are widely considered to be the greatest minds in the Under-Empire, who craft some of the most vile and devious devices in the whole world. When not overseeing a weapons team or manning their war machines themselves, they have the ability to perform acts of magic, much like any other race. However, since their grasp on the winds of magic is not as powerful or masterful as their own Grey Seers, the Warlock engineers are heavily reliant on their death machines and even personal arms to annihilate the enemy. Their weapons and tools ranging from warplock muskets, poisoned wind globes, to arcane blades imbued with mysterious warpstone energies. It is important to mention that warpstone is one of the main substances used by the Skaven to power their own diabolical machinations. When the dark magic that flows into the world concentrates and grows powerful, it can take the form of crystallized stones that glow with a sickly greenish shade. This is more commonly known as warpstone, and despite its many risks, it is highly coveted by necromancers, alchemists, and sorcerers alike. Yet none scour this rare substance more than the Skaven. Warpstone is used by the Ratmen to power their twisted technology and to enhance their own obscure magic spells. The resource is so favored by the Skaven that it is even used as currency within their society. Skaven warlocks are commonly known to look incessantly for this resource to power their crazy inventions and machines.
Ikit has the biggest brain of all rats! Hatched a simple, masterful scheme. Yes, yes.
Ikit Claw, the master warlock engineer of Clan Skryer, is able to blend arcane sorceries with technology in an insane and mind-boggling mix. His ability to blur the line between science and the power of magic is nothing less than remarkable. Being a tall Skaven covered in white fur, Ikit Claw is easily recognized as a figure of power and influence amongst the Ratmen. Under Ikit Claw's order, vast foundries and massive tunnels have been made to allocate for the foundation of the clan's many forges, and thousands of Skaven have perished during the countless experiments that take place in these dark places. As Ikit Claw constantly studies and pursues his diabolical goal to create more murderous weapons of destruction, in his madness and obsession, he has traveled to far Cathay, stolen technology from the Dark Elves in the far Nakaroth, and has even risked the wrath of Clan Pestilence by journeying through the steaming jungles of Lustria and visiting the monolithic ruins which have stood there since the beginning of time. All in the name of acquiring more and more knowledge to prove to the world that he is the best Warlock engineer to ever live. In his own quest for knowledge, the Skaven Warlock mangled his body after a failed experiment caused by a big explosion, nearly killing him. An intricate iron mask of his own invention now covers his hairless skull, and a wrought iron exoskeleton aids his withered left side. He has a cunningly made skeletal claw of iron, crystal, and brass to give strength to his withered arm. The claw contains several of his more successful inventions, including a small warp-fire projector, which he has used many times against foes, and even fellow Skaven engineers and slaves alike. As long as this wicked rat lives, the world cannot rest, for more and deadlier inventions will continue to pour out of the damned forges of the underworld. One of the most brutal machines devised by the Tinker Rats of Clan Skryer is the Doomwheel, a colossal engine which name may sound comical to some, but those who have faced one in battle know of its devastating power. It is a terrifying engine of destruction which has smashed its way through the serried ranks of dwarf, orc, beastmen, and human regiments alike. These machines often wreak havoc and the bloodiest murder upon the field. With an outer wooden ring reinforced by iron and armed with a collection of razor-sharp blade, it houses a metal treadmill within. This treadmill is operated by 2 Skaven to generate enough power to lift the machine's warpstone generator. This generator in turn fires warp lightning at those unfortunate enough to stand in the Doomwheel's path. A design simultaneously genius and moronic that still confounds even the keenest of minds at the Imperial Colleges of Engineers in Nuln. The Doomwheel was invented by Ikit Claw by harnessing the power of raw warpstone to create energy discharges. It is a terrifying engine of destruction that rolls forward with no intentions of stopping. Anyone foolish enough to hold his ground before this infernal machine is blasted apart by the warp lightning, or crushed under the heavy Doomwheel itself. While many of the clan's inventions are widely known, few are thought to be as mighty as the warp lightning cannon, believed by many to be the pinnacle in the blend of magic and engineering, and of Skaven ingenuity as a whole. A device that perfectly blends the arcane with science, and as such can crumble even the mightiest of castle walls like a sand castle caught in a tidal wave. The cannon generates warp lightning in a huge sphere to the rear of the cannon, which, once sufficiently charged, fires a bolt of pure, concentrated warp lightning towards valuable targets in the enemy's army. The bolt moves too quickly to be seen and arcs into the heart of the enemy before bursting into a cloud of warp energy, leaving only a greenish vapor behind to track its path. Although insanely fast and powerful, these cannons all show the signs of long-term use and overworking of their already crude design. It is well known the bulky outer hulls often barely contain the raging forces within, and can be as unreliable as they are deadly, sometimes taking the operating weapons team with them in a colossal green fireball of warp fire energy. While the heroes and mightiest minds of Clan Skryer always have and always will be the Warlock engineers, there will always be a need for clan rats to shoulder the majority of the military burden. Being one amongst the untold number of Skryr's clan rats comes with its advantages. The clan's infantry troops are never alone on the battlefield, and are supported by brutal and hellish firepower. As such, there is a group of special engineers whose mission is to operate the vile war machines that are deployed in full-scale battles or specific special operations. These weapons teams unleash the force of a wide variety of devices upon the enemy. Devices such as the Rattling gun, a weapon capable of unleashing an unimaginable amount of firepower in an extremely short period of time, oftentimes leaving the enemy shredded to pieces or heavily wounded, just wondering what happened. These weapons are usually deployed as a support element for the wave attacks of the clan rats, a situation that is as beneficial as it is terrifying for them. Skaven chieftains will happily order the gunners to fire into their own engaged clan rats if it serves the purpose of killing the enemy, something that the clan rats are all too aware of. This multi-barreled Deathbringer, so popular among the warlords of different clans, that Clan Skryer will always run out of guns before running out of customers to sell them to. While the mighty yet bloody war engines of the Warplock engineers' design are effective and brutal in not simply dispatching but destroying the enemy en masse, there are always times in the field of battle that require a more precise and delicate hand. The Jezzail is the longest-ranged rifle known to all the races of the world, those who walk above and below. And in the paws of a highly trained Skaven, these rifles can be used to devastating effect, removing key targets from the enemy's ranks. On such occasions that a paw leader considers it necessary to deploy his Warplock Jezzails, a two Skaven team will set out, one to prop the insanely lengthy barrel, and one to fire it, to deal silent and precise death to the enemy. While much of the effectiveness of the Jezzails surely stems from the incredible sniper training that these Skaven receive, a great deal more undoubtedly rests with the ammunition. The Jezzail fires rounds crafted from pure warpstone, which explains why these weapons have the longest range of any rifle and the significant damage it can deal. But there is always a trade-off. While superior in range and often damage output, the warpstone rounds also reduce the fire rate of the Jezzail, which, also due to its cumbersome length, must be stationary to fire. However, despite their unwieldy nature, the Warplock Jezzails are an invaluable asset to their paw leader, and by extension, the whole of the Clan Skryer. Similar to the engineers, and some even being of that role themselves, the Poisoned Wind Globadiers are one of the vilest units Clan Skryer can bring to bear. one of the newest additions to the clan's already sizable biological warfare forces. These globadiers, clad in ghoulish metal masks and equipped with rebreather equipment, are trained to launch their glass orbs of toxic gas into the thickest pockets of fighting they can find on the field. It is of no consequence to the globadiers or the poisoned wind orbs that they launch into the fray which side the combatants represent. All those who breathe the abhorrent fumes of the orbs succumb to a violent and agonizing death in mere seconds. While many would rightly fear to encounter these vile fiends in their gas masks on the battlefield, their poisoned wind globes are as nothing to their even more notorious and horrific cousins, death globes. These glass orbs are filled with warpstone gas and fired into the midst of the fight by the death globe bombardiers. Almost identical to the globadiers, yet more elaborate in the design of their protective gear and the useless arcane armor they often sport beneath their robes. The death globes are much like the poisoned wind globes. However, they are even more potent, their contents being known to cause severe pain and even death merely upon contact with skin. It is a dire fate awaiting any of those unfortunate enough to inhale the toxic warpstone fumes. The lungs spontaneously begin to fill with a bubbling, roiling pus that causes an almost instant yet agonizing demise to the poor soul on the receiving end. It is no wonder why these globadiers and their cousin bombardiers are so widely feared and hated wherever they appear. Truly, Clan Skryer is deserving of its fearsome and brutal reputation. There must be many throughout the old world who live in constant fear of encountering the hellish machines from the menace below. There will be many more that live in never-ending dread that one day the vile and hated Skaven, specifically the horrifying Warlock engineers of Clan Skryer, will begin to pay more attention to the quality and craftsmanship of their inventions in the applications. Truly, if the foul rats decided to further refine their already devastating war machines and unite amongst themselves, then the Skaven would be one of the strongest, if not the dominant force of the old world as a whole, not just the underways they call home.
You must understand, I was down there, in the Skaven capital. That horrid city is every bit as ugly as the rumors insist, and much more. I've seen the Skaven of Skryer and their technology. Things that could bring down castles, eradicate armies, and bring cities to ruin. I've seen pestilence manufacturing their terrible contagions. I've heard the Greyseers mutter unintelligible mystic phrases and working spells for their dark god. I've seen agents of Eshin return from missions, carrying heads of their targets and bringing critical information to the Council's ears. So many hateful creatures, simultaneously working together and conspiring against each other. It was most terrifying. I wish to never go back there, ever again.
On this channel, we are putting together narrative Total War cinematic battles and Warhammer lore videos. A special thank you goes to our Patreon supporters who help us in the making of more content. You can also join Patreon and earn extra perks while supporting the videos to come. Find the link in the description below. Make sure to subscribe, and thank you for watching. See you on the next one.